Though the door wasn't so forbidden this year, I thought that AEW absolutely delivered on pay-per-view once again with absolutely quality wrestling throughout the show for Forbidden Door 2026. In today's video, we're going to be going through a match by match, my thoughts and opinions and what I thought of each match and all that kind of stuff. Already on the channel about the time should be my match ratings for each match that went on the pay-per-view as well. That'll be on the shorts page, so do go and check that out. But yeah, for now, let's go through Forbidden Door and see which matches stood out and which ones weren't so great. So the night started off with the Young Bucks defeating El Sky Team, which was Mystico and Mascara Dorada, and Unbound Co., which was Titan and Shingo Takagi from CMLL and New Japan, respectively. And yeah, this was a really, really fun match. It was a great way to start the show. It was really high-paced throughout. There wasn't really a dull moment in this one. And yeah, everyone within the match seemed to, who wasn't a luchador, they had a really good part of the match where they were just doing luchador stuff. I think the only little parts is that Shingo wasn't doing that much luchador stuff, but he was doing good Japan strong style type stuff to combat the luchador, or the lucha libre style, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, everything here worked really well. It was actually one of the better matches of the night in my opinion. It was just really fun throughout, and I said a really high paced and exciting way to start the night. We then move on to Kenny Omega defeating Zack Sabre Jr., which I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed with. I was hoping they were going to give Zack Sabre Jr. the win here, but I kind of understand with Redemption coming up, with it being in Canada, that they want to put Kenny Omega in a big position for that card. I now assume that he's going to face MJF for the AEW World Championship, which is something I don't want to see again. We already did it at Dynasty only a few months ago, and also this case of I really want Ospreay versus MJF All In. Therefore, I don't want Omega to challenge against, as much as I absolutely adore Ospreay versus Omega from Forbidden Door 2023. I think it was 23. I would much prefer right now Ospreay versus MJF, because these two are both hitting a new prime. So yeah, it's I'm fine with Ospreay Omega All In. I would just prefer MJF and Ospreay, but yeah, I say this match was really good. It was, for me, it's not rated probably as highly as what other people will give it. Other people will see this as one of the best matches of the year. Myself, I'm not the biggest fan of Zack Sabre Jr. and how... Okay, I'm a fan of Zack Sabre Jr. I'm just... How he wrestles can sometimes get a little bit stale for me within matches. And sometimes his matches are absolutely fantastic. This was one of those times where it just got a little bit stale for me, and I didn't enjoy it probably as much as other people would. Same with Kenny Omega. I haven't been the biggest fan of his since he came back from diverticulitis. I know he's had to change around how he is as a wrestler, but I'm kind of just a little bit fed up with Kenny Omega to a degree, even though he's not as around as much as he used to be. There's just... he doesn't have the allure as he once was, or once had. Therefore, it's just it was a decent match. I know Kenny Omega is still probably one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. I just wouldn't put him in the top 10 right now, which I know for some people will be very controversial, but I stand by it. I just don't enjoy Kenny Omega matches the way I used to. After that, we saw Jon Moxley defeat Bandido to retain his Continental Championship in what was a brilliant match. I absolutely loved this one. I think the only part of the match that I feel in my opinion, went a little bit wrong is that Moxley ripped Bandido's ass way more than he should have. You essentially at one point could see the majority of Bandido's face. It was very quick. They cut the camera away pretty quickly, and then Bandido adjusted his mask so that you could barely see, and it was a good, it helped the matches in getting Moxley heat, and you could see how much Bandido was bleeding after the pile driver on the stairs. But yeah, I thought overall this was really good. Bandido once again shows his great resiliency as he kicks out of nearly everything at some point. And yeah, the way that Moxley had to do multiple finishes of his to put Bandido down for 3, I thought worked out really well. It's a rematch I would love to see go down at some point, that even if it's just on a random Dynamite. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Moxley is one of the best AEW wrestlers overall. Bandido is one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the world right now. So yeah, this was never not going to deliver a fantastic match. Following that, I assume these two were going to go back to back because of the whole Death Riders thing, but Shota Umino defeated Pac for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And yeah, and the match again was very, very good. These two styles work together really, really well. You could tell that Umino and Pac, though haven't had matches together, have kind of both had influences and stuff from Jon Moxley. I know less Pac, like from a inspirational point of like Shota, but these two styles clash really, really well. Shota Umino took a brutal looking table spot where he kind of bounced after hitting the floor. It looks pretty awful, and I like the fact that we were lenient with the rules where it didn't really cause anything. They just continued as you would, which I know is something they do in Japan, where they can do like table spots and stuff, and it just doesn't cause anything. We just carry on, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, everything about this was really great. I said most of the time with Shota Umino, especially when I've watched New Japan, is that he has under-delivered on a big match. So I think one of the last matches I saw of his was when he main evented Wrestle Kingdom against Zack Sabre Jr., and I was very disappointed with how that match went down. So this was like a cool, and I'm glad that I managed to get a Shota Umino match that I could really enjoy. And yeah, Pac is absolutely fantastic in the ring. He was never going to put on a bad match, and yeah, everything here just, as I said, it just worked really well throughout for this one. Afterwards, we got what was probably one of the weaker matches on the card, in my opinion, which is nothing. I mean, it was still a pretty good match, actually. I think I gave it 6 out of 10 overall, so it kind of says everything you need to know about these two as far as talent goes. But we had Tekla defeat Starlight Kid to retain the Women's World Championship, and yeah, I said it was a decent match. There wasn't really anything that blew me away. Starlight Kid, just seemed like a decent wrestler, It's kind of, we know Tekla's good. I'm just a bit concerned over whether she'll be still champion come All In. I'm kind of hoping not, as I feel like Tekla versus Mercedes Moné is two massive heels in the women's division going at it on a big stage where it feels like one of them should be a babyface, and I can't imagine them turning Mercedes Moné babyface at this point now where we're so close to All In. So yeah, I'm curious to see whether Tekla holds the title past Redemption or whether she loses the title before All In, pretty much. But no, this was a decent match. I said one of the weaker ones on the card. It was a pretty bang average women's match, but like a average women's match in the world of AEW is still very good. So don't get me wrong, as much as I probably don't talk about this as much as the rest of the matches, it was still very good. Do not get me wrong. Following that, we had Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, I think you call him, just some old bum guy. I think if I remember correctly, his name was Adam Copeland. He defeated the Dogs to retain. They defeated the Dogs. Interesting. The Dogs to retain the World Tag Team Championships. Nothing about this was shocking to me. This was the weakest match on the card. I had very little interest in this match going in, even though I'm a big fan of David Finlay. As you can see on the channel already, he makes my top 100, which you can check out on the channel. If it came out a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on David Finlay. But the big kind of news here was the return, well, not the return of Bang Bang Gang, they've been back around for a few weeks now, but the return finally, which I believe has been over a year since we've seen Switchblade Jay White. He returned, he took out David Finlay, I believe, after the match or during the match. I can't remember if it was before or during, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, massive pop from the crowd. Love to see him back. I like the way that they did the callback to how David Finlay took out Jay White to take over the leadership of Bullet Club. I think they did it the opposite way, and Jay White took him out. Very excited to see the feud between the Dogs and the Bang Bang Gang, especially if Gabe Kidd gets involved as well, as I assume he will do, even though he's kind of a dog and kind of a Death Rider. But still, very good. It was a great moment for them. I think it was more put the match on the card for the moment of Jay White coming back rather than the match just being on the card, because of it. It did feel very random at the time to just have the Dogs challenge them when they could have faced a tag team from New Japan, but it is what it is. But yeah, very glad to see Jay White is back. Hopefully he can make more of an impact now that he's back in AEW, because he really hasn't done that much since debuting for AEW. After that, we had the final of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament for the women, where Mercedes Moné unsurprisingly defeated Maya World in what was a fantastic match. Maya World had a star-making performance here. I don't know how they're going to use Maya World going forward, as she was mainly on Ring of Honor before this. But yeah, this was a huge performance for her. She did absolutely fantastically. She was using Mercedes Moné's her moveset against her because she's such a big fan of hers. She's learned her moveset, which I thought was a really cool callback to like just when we get into a generation of people being fans of the current wrestlers, especially in AEW, we don't really see that very often. We only really saw that with Sting and like the older guys. So yeah, to have someone like Mercedes Moné face someone so young and then just put an absolute banger, I thought was really, really well done. And yeah, as I said, this was more about making Maya World essentially a star or putting her over in defeat, which I thought they did absolutely brilliantly. Mercedes Moné winning did not shock me at all. As soon as she came back, she was definitely a hands-on favourite to get the win, and she's the first two-time Owen Hart Foundation tournament winner. And yeah, she goes on to All In to face whoever the women's champion will be, which again, I really don't want to be Tekla, but I feel like it might be going that way. I feel like there's more intriguing matches for Mercedes to have other than Tekla. No offense to Tekla, but yeah, as I said, it was a fantastic match, probably one of the better matches of the night. And yeah, just as I said, Maya World looked like an absolute star coming out of this. Following that, we had what could only be described as a shit show car crash comedy fest, which was the 12-man steel cage tag team match where Team Briscoe, so Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Konosuke Takeshita, and Darby Allin defeated Team DCMJF, which was MJF, Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Kevin Knight, Jake Doyle, and Andrade El Idolo. And yeah, there was a bunch of highlights in this one. Darby Allin just took probably one of the worst thumbtack spots I think I've seen in a long time, where he essentially it looked like he was just going to take a backdrop like anyone else would. But instead, Darby rotated again and ended up going face first into the tacks. It was awful. We then saw Kyle Fletcher get busted open. I can't remember how he got busted open, but there was like so pretty much all of Team Briscoe came out with rucksacks on, and they were all throughout the match bringing stuff out of rucksacks, apart from Roderick Strong that had a massive bag for some reason, but we'll get to that. Orange Cassidy opened his bag and he pulled out a bag of oranges, and it had a really cool note where it said "Good luck tonight" from Willow Nightingale, which I thought was really cool with Willow being injured. And yeah, probably one of the, it's not like one of the worst spots, but like the one that made me crease the most was they kind of held down Kyle Fletcher, and Orange Cassidy squeezed orange juice into his open wound on his head. I can't imagine how much agony Kyle Fletcher was in after that. We also saw essentially what could be seen as an attempted murder, as Darby Allin straight away climbed the cage during the entrance and he put his bag on top of the cage. Kevin Knight went up, and I believe Darby went up and then Kevin Knight followed him, or vice versa. Kevin Knight opened the bag and it exploded, and then he fell through two tables that was on top of two other tables. I think all four were supposed to break, but only two did, because I assume Kevin Knight doesn't weigh that much, that only two of them broke. It was a awesome spot, and yeah, it was just a really innovative way to get to that point in the match. At some point in the match, I can imagine the Kevin Knight thing was quite late into it, but Roderick Strong brought a massive bag to the ring, and they were trying to work out what was in it. Maybe it was just a bunch of weapons and they were going to use them. Instead, they opened it and Blackheart Leo Rush was in it. And there's one thing I really enjoyed about AEW television recently. It is Blackheart Leo Rush. Now, I understand how sometimes I can go across when it comes to, I really hate Danhausen. I really do. I'm so fed up with him on WWE television. Yeah, I really like Blackheart Leo Rush. It's very weird because they're essentially very similar characters, but I like one and hate the other. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool moment in the match. He didn't really do a lot, and then the heel team just made him get back in the bag, and then they shoved it under the ring. But yeah, no, it was a really fun part of the match. It added that comedy element that I feel like a big, intense steel cage match kind of needed. And yeah, everything kind of worked out here. We also saw the face turn of Andrade El Idolo. He turned on the Don Callis family and took out MJF and told Don Callis to go fuck himself and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I'm interested to see what a face Andrade looks like, just because he's so well, for me, he's such a better heel than a face, so I'm interested to see how they work that out, and hopefully he's one of the next challengers for MJF for the AEW World Championship. But yeah, overall, this was a really fun match. It was a lot. For me, I really much preferred this one to last year's one. But yeah, I think it worked out really well. Team Briscoe getting the win, I thought was fine. It made perfect sense to me. I did expect the title match to be at Beach Rate, but it's actually going to be, this week on Dynamite, or when this video comes out, it'll be tonight on Dynamite. Which I said, it should be a decent match. Mark Briscoe and MJF do have really good chemistry. Do I think Mark Briscoe is going to win the AEW World Championship? Absolutely not. MJF will probably hold it into at least Redemption, hopefully All In. But yeah, so this was a fun match, but again, it's a 12-man steel cage match that didn't, even though with all the talent involved, just wasn't best match of the night. But speaking of the best match of the night, we move on to the main event of the evening, the final of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament for the men, where Will Ospreay defeated Swerve Strickland in what was a masterclass in professional wrestling. I absolutely loved this match. I loved it when I watched it live. I loved it when I rewatched it a few days later. It was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, when it comes to AEW, they kind of have, I know they have their usual 4-pillar stuff, and Tony Khan recently said it was like Tekla, Mercedes, Kevin Knight, and somebody else. I can't remember who said it was. Yeah, I can't remember. For me, the 4 pillars of just pure in-ring acumen and pure in-ring quality in AEW is MJF, Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, and Will Ospreay. And yeah, these two absolutely delivered. It was an absolutely fantastic match. There was plenty of blood involved. I think they both overbled, if anything, but it was a fantastic match throughout. I kind of had everything that I kind of wanted in a wrestling match. It had a slow start. Swerve Strickland does the slow, methodical pace. The only person I can really compare it to is Roman Reigns. He does it so well when he's a heel, and yeah, as we love it. Ospreay, though he isn't doing as fast and quick pace stuff all the time like he was before, when he does have these outbursts of pace and speed and quickness, it is so fun to see. These two had absolutely fantastic sequences of wrestling, just where they're either avoiding each other's stuff or they're just hitting each other completely nonchalantly. Will Ospreay has a wicked forearm on him now, which I think is absolutely fantastic, which you've got to believe he's learned from Jon Moxley through training with the Death Riders. But yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about this match. Definitely go and check it out if you can. For me, personally, this was the best match of the year for AEW so far. Though MJF and Hangman Texas Death is very close to this, I feel like, you know, Texas Death kind of has only one way it's going, which is really violent. This match had violence, it had great wrestling, it had fantastic false finishes. It really got me invested throughout the match from start to finish. And yeah, just everything about this was an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. So those are my thoughts and opinions on Forbidden Door 2026. Do put down in the comments below what your favourite match was, what you thought of the show overall. Are you a Kenny Omega versus October Jr. guy? Did you enjoy the steel cage the most? Did Mercedes Moné versus Maya Will blow you away? Was it Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland just having an absolute classic nonchalantly on a pay-per-view? Do let me know in the comments. I'm interested to see what people's takes are on this, because there was a lot of matches that could have been match of the night. So yeah, do let me know. And yeah, do stick around, do subscribe. There is lots of stuff already on the channel. There's lots of stuff coming up on the channel. So for the rest of this week, there is already on the channel my review of WWE Night of Champions and NXT Great American Bash. They come out over the past 2 days. And then tomorrow will be my review of Slammiversary. And then the day after that, so Friday, will be my matches of the month. And on the shorts page, there will be my wrestlers of the month as well. If you want a little bit of early access to them, on the TKO Wrestling website, which is it's linked down below in the description, you can find my wrestlers and matches of the month already posted on there. But you know, if you don't, it's fine. You can wait for the video in a couple of days. Also, the TWR Top 100 carries on. Already on the channel is number 100, which is David Finlay, and number 99, which is Mickey James. But already recorded, I have number 98, 97, and 96. Do look out for those throughout the month, as well as lots of other stuff. Next week, there is my half-year awards. So I'm doing Wrestler of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year, Feud of the Year, and then in a separate video, I'm doing my top 10 with some honorable mentions, matches of the half-year as well. So do look out for those by subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.